Mason Riley stood by the large window of Arcturus Research Station. His eyes looked at the stars. He was good with languages, even alien ones that no one had heard yet. But Mason was not good with people. He liked his quiet life at the station. He studied alien signals and wrote reports. No one bothered him much. That quiet life ended on a Tuesday. The alarm rang through the station. Red lights flashed. Mason ran to the main room with everyone else. On the big screen, a strange ship appeared. It was like nothing Mason had ever seen. The ship looked like it was made of crystal. It changed colors as it moved closer to the station. "What is that?" asked a voice beside him. It was Ellie Waters, the station commander. She looked worried. "It's not one of ours," said a man at the controls. "It's not from Earth at all." Mason felt his heart beat faster. Aliens. Real aliens. After years of studying signals and sounds, they were here. Commander Waters looked at Mason. "You're our language expert. If they try to talk, you need to understand them." Mason wanted to say no. He studied alien languages in theory. He never thought he would need to use them. But he nodded anyway. The crystal ship came closer. It moved into orbit around the station. Everyone waited. Would they attack? Would they try to talk? A message came through their systems. Strange symbols appeared on the screen. Mason moved closer. He studied them carefully, "I think," he said slowly. "I think they want to dock with us. They want to come aboard." Commander Waters looked at the others. "Should we let them?" After much talk, they decided to allow the alien ship to connect to their dock. Mason went with a team to meet them. He felt sick with worry. What if he was wrong? What if they came to attack? The door between the ships opened slowly. Light poured through. Mason covered his eyes. When he looked again, he saw them. The aliens looked almost human in shape. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But their skin shimmered with light that moved under the surface. Their eyes had up and down pupils like a cat's, and on their heads crystal growths formed what looked like crowns. One stepped forward. She was clearly the leader. Her crown was bigger and more complex. Her skin shimmered with blue and purple lights. Her eyes changed from gold to green as she looked at them. "Hello," she said in perfect English. "I am Princess Lyra of the Vasari Empire." Mason's mouth fell open. She spoke English. He had prepared translation programs, hand signals, pictures, all useless. "How do you speak our language?" he asked. Princess Lyra looked directly at him. Her eyes changed to a deep blue. "We have studied your world for some time. You are interesting to us." Mason felt like she was looking into his mind. He couldn't look away from her strange, beautiful eyes. "I am Commander Ellie Waters. Welcome to Arcturus Station," said the commander, stepping forward. But Princess Lyra kept looking at Mason. "You are the language expert." "Mason Riley. I have read your work on communication patterns." Mason felt his face grow hot. "You've read my work?" "Yes, it is why I am here." She moved closer to him. "Our empires should be friends. We have much to offer each other." Commander Waters nodded. "We would welcome peaceful relations with your people." "Good," said Princess Lyra. Then she turned back to Mason. "In our culture, alliances are sealed with marriage between important families." Everyone looked confused. Mason didn't understand what she meant. Princess Lyra continued, her voice clear and formal. "I have come to propose an alliance between our civilizations, sealed through marriage." She looked directly at Mason. "What if I married you human?" The room went completely silent. Mason thought he had misunderstood. Everyone was looking at him now. I think there might be a problem with translation," he managed to say. Princess Lyra's lips curved into a small smile. "There is no error in my translation, Mason Riley. I have chosen you." Commander Waters stepped between them. "Princess Lyra, this is very unexpected. In our culture, marriage is a personal choice, not a political one. Is it not both?" asked the princess, looking confused. "Do your leaders not form family bonds to strengthen political ties?" "Not for hundreds of years," said Commander Waters. "We should discuss this more. There's much about each other's cultures we need to learn." Princess Lyra nodded. "Yes, I will stay and learn. My ship carries gifts and knowledge to share with your people." She looked at Mason again. "And I wish to speak more with you, Mason Riley." They took the princess and her small group to a meeting room. People rushed around, calling Earth, preparing rooms for the visitors. Mason sat quietly, still in shock. An alien princess had just proposed to him. His quiet life was definitely over. Over the next few days, Mason spent hours with Princess Lyra. She wanted to learn about humans. He wanted to learn about the Vasari. She told him their empire had thousands of planets. They had traveled through space for many thousands of years. Why Earth? Mason asked her one day.
Why now?
Princess Lyra's skin darkened slightly. Your planet sits at an important place in space, and... She paused. There are others out there. Not all are friendly like us. Mason felt cold at her words. Are we in danger? Not with us as your friends, she said. Her hand touched his briefly. It was warmer than a human hand. That is why an alliance is important. And that's why you want to marry me? Mason asked. For an alliance? Princess Lyra's skin rippled with patterns of light. That is one reason. But I chose you specifically because of your mind. You understand patterns. You see connections others miss. Such traits are valued highly by my people. Mason didn't know what to say. No one had ever valued him that way before. What he didn't know then was that Princess Lyra wasn't telling him everything. The Vasari Empire was at war with a terrible enemy called the Morrigan. Earth was right in the path of this war, and Princess Lyra's proposal wasn't just about friendship, it was about survival. Mason's life turned upside down after Princess Lyra's proposal. People from Earth's government arrived at the station. They asked him many questions. They wanted to know everything about the princess and what she had said to him. Tell us again what she told you about their empire, said Admiral Kate Donovan. She was the highest-ranking military officer at the station now. Her face was serious as she looked at Mason. The Vasari Empire has thousands of planets. They've been traveling in space for over 10,000 years, Mason said. He had told her this 3 times already. And she wants to marry you, a linguist. Not a government leader or military commander. Admiral Donovan didn't try to hide her suspicion. Mason shrugged. She said they value different things than we do. They care more about how people think than what position they hold. In another room, Dr. Olivia Patel was talking to Princess Lyra. Dr. Patel was the station's expert on alien biology. She was trying to learn if humans and Vasari could even live together. Your technology is amazing, Dr. Patel said when Mason joined them. The princess says her people stopped aging thousands of years ago. They can live forever, Mason. Princess Lyra's skin rippled with patterns of light. Mason was learning this meant she was amused. Not forever, but a very long time by your standards. Mason sat across from her. Every time he saw the princess, he noticed new details. The way her eyes changed color with her mood, the complex patterns that moved under her skin, the way her crystal crown seemed to grow from her head, not just sit on it. The Admiral doesn't trust you, Mason said directly. That is wise, said Princess Lyra. Our peoples do not know each other well yet. Then why propose marriage so quickly? Mason asked. It was the question everyone kept asking. Princess Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Walk with me, she said finally. They went to the observation deck. Through the big windows, they could see Princess Lyra's ship floating nearby. It shimmered in the sunlight. Your people worry about my intentions, she said. They are right to question. In your position, my people would do the same. Then help me understand, Mason said. Why me? There are billions of humans. Many are more important than I am. Princess Lyra's skin lit up with those patterns again. Your species puts strange value on certain positions. I chose you because of your mind. You understand patterns and connections that others miss. In our culture, this is more valuable than political power. She turned to face him fully. The Vasari bond deeply with our mates. Our minds connect. We share thoughts, feelings, knowledge. Such a bond with a human mind like yours could create something new, something neither of our species has alone. Mason tried to imagine what she was describing. You want to share thoughts with me? Yes, it would help our peoples understand each other and... She paused, looking out at the stars. It could help us face what is coming. What is coming? Mason asked, feeling suddenly cold. Princess Lyra didn't answer directly. The universe is vast, Mason Riley, and not all who travel it are peaceful. Back in the meeting rooms, people argued about what to do. Some wanted to accept Princess Lyra's offer of alliance. Others didn't trust her. We've scanned their ship, said a scientist named Ben. The technology is like nothing we've ever seen. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done it already. Or they want something from us, said Admiral Donovan. Something they can't take by force. Dr. Patel joined the discussion. The princess has offered to share medical technology that could end most human diseases. Do you know what that would mean? The arguments went on for days. Mason spent more time with Princess Lyra, learning about her world. She showed him images of Vasari planets, strange, beautiful places with crystal cities and oceans that glowed at night. Your world is young, she told him, full of possibilities. One night Mason couldn't sleep. He went to the observation deck and found Princess Lyra there looking at the stars. You're not telling us everything, he said. It wasn't a question. She turned to him, her eyes a deep purple now. No, she admitted. I am not. Why? Some truths would only cause fear before trust is built, she said. But I will tell you this, my people have enemies. Terrible enemies called the Morrigan. They do not take prisoners or negotiate. They consume everything they touch. Planets, people, knowledge. Mason felt his heart beat faster. Are they coming here? Princess Lyra looked back at the stars. They follow us everywhere. It is only a matter of time. Is that why you're really here? You're running from them? Not running, she said, her voice harder now. Preparing. Earth sits at an important place in space. If the Morrigan take this system, they will have access to many others. Mason understood now. So your marriage proposal, the alliance, why it's all about getting our help against these Morrigan? It is about mutual survival, said Princess Lyra. My people have fought the Morrigan for centuries. Alone, your world would fall in days. And with your help, we might stand a chance together. She moved closer to him. The bond between Vasari mates is powerful, Mason. It enhances both partners. A bond between human and Vasari has never been tried. It might create abilities neither of our species has alone. Mason looked at her, really looked at her. Despite her alien appearance, he felt he could read her expression now. She was worried, maybe even afraid. You should tell the others, he said, about the Morrigan. They would see it as a threat. A trick to gain your cooperation? Maybe, but lies won't build trust either. Princess Lyra considered his words. You are wise, Mason Riley. Tomorrow I will tell your leaders everything. The next day, Princess Lyra spoke to Earth's representatives. She told them about the Morrigan, a species that traveled from galaxy to galaxy, consuming all life they found. She showed them images of destroyed worlds. She explained that 12 Vasari colony planets had already been lost. The Morrigan are drawn to advanced civilizations, she said. Your world has been broadcasting signals into space for 100 years. They know you are here. Admiral Donovan leaned forward. And they're following you. Yes, said Princess Lyra. But we can help each other. Our technology with your resources. My people with yours. And the marriage proposal? Asked Commander Waters. How does that fit in? The bond between mates in my culture creates strength. It allows sharing of knowledge, skills, even certain abilities. Such a bond with a human might create new ways to fight the Morrigan. Everyone looked at Mason. He felt the weight of their stares. I need time to think, he said, but time was something they didn't have much of. Later that day, alarms sounded throughout the station. On the big screen, strange ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were black and angular, seeming to swallow the light around them. Morrigan scout ships, said Princess Lyra, her skin now pale gray. They have found us sooner than I expected. The first battle for Earth was about to begin. The Morrigan ships looked like shadows against the stars. They were black and angular with no lights or windows. They seemed to absorb the light around them. Everyone to emergency stations, commanded Ellie Waters over the station's speakers. This is not a drill. Mason stood frozen in front of the big screen, watching the alien ships move closer. Princess Lyra stood beside him, her skin now a dull gray color. How many people are on those ships? Mason asked. The Morrigan are not people as you understand them, said Princess Lyra. Her voice was flat. They are a collective consciousness. Many bodies, one mind. Admiral Donovan rushed into the room. We've sent messages to Earth. Defense ships are on their way, but it will take hours for them to reach us. We do not have hours, said Princess Lyra. She turned to her own people who had gathered nearby. They spoke quickly in their own language, their skin flashing with patterns of light. One of them nodded and left the room. Princess Lyra turned back to the humans. My ship will move to intercept them. We will buy you time. That's suicide, said Admiral Donovan. There are 5 of their ships and only 1 of yours. The Celestial Harmony is a royal vessel. It has defenses, said Princess Lyra, But I cannot remain here. I must go with my ship. Mason felt a sudden panic at the thought of her leaving. I'm coming with you, he said without thinking. Everyone looked at him in surprise. Mason, no, said Commander Waters. You're a civilian. This is a military situation now. But Princess Lyra was looking at him with those strange eyes. Yes, she said. You should come. We may need your mind. Admiral Donovan started to object, but Princess Lyra cut her off. We do not have time to argue. The Morrigan will not negotiate. They will not accept surrender. They will consume this station and everyone on it unless we stop them. In the end, they couldn't stop her from leaving, and they couldn't stop Mason from going with her. Dr. Patel insisted on coming too, saying she needed to continue her research on Vasari biology. The inside of the Vasari ship was even stranger than the outside. The walls seemed to pulse with light. The corridors curved in ways that made no sense. Mason felt like he was walking inside a living thing, not a machine. This way, said Princess Lyra, leading them to what must be the control room. But there were no controls that Mason could see. Just a large crystal in the center of the room and several Vasari standing around it with their hands touching its surface. The ship moved away from the station. On a wall that turned transparent, Mason could see the Morrigan ships growing larger. What do they want? He asked. Princess Lyra placed her hands on the crystal. Everything. Knowledge, technology, life force. They consume it all and make it part of themselves. The ship accelerated faster than anything Mason had ever experienced, but he felt no force pushing him back. It was as if gravity inside the ship adjusted perfectly to the movement. Amazing, whispered Dr. Patel, looking around with wide eyes. Your ship is partly biological, isn't it? Yes, said Princess Lyra without taking her eyes off the approaching enemy. Grown, not built, a message came through. Captain Diane Foster of Earth's Defense Fleet appeared on the transparent wall. Princess Lyra, we've received a message from the unidentified vessels. They're demanding we surrender you to them. They say you're a fugitive, not a diplomat. Mason looked at Lyra. Is that true? Are you running from them? Not in the way they suggest, she said carefully. The Morrigan consider all Vasari royalty to be criminals because we resist them. They have tried to capture members of my family for generations, Captain Foster continued. They've given us 1 hour to hand you over or they'll attack. Do not respond, said Princess Lyra. It does not matter what you say. They will attack anyway. The first attack came exactly 1 hour later. One of the Morrigan ships fired a beam of dark energy at a small Earth defense ship that had arrived. The beam passed right through the ship's shields. The ship exploded silently in the emptiness of space. No, gasped Mason, watching the destruction. Princess Lyra's ship, the Celestial Harmony, moved with incredible speed. It fired weapons of its own, bright beams of energy that cut through one of the Morrigan ships. But more were coming. We cannot defeat them all, said one of the Vasari crew members. There are too many. Princess Lyra turned to Mason. There may be a way, but it requires the bond I spoke of. Mason looked at her. The marriage bond now? It is not marriage as you understand it, she said. It is a joining of minds, of life force. It would connect us in ways you cannot imagine. Will it help defeat the Morrigan? Mason asked. It might. My people have certain mental abilities. We can sense each other's thoughts, share knowledge. The Morrigan fear this power. It is the one thing they cannot simply consume and use. Another Earth ship exploded on the screen. Mason made his decision. Let's do it. Dr. Patel stepped forward. Wait, what will this do to him physically? Will it harm him? Princess Lyra's skin rippled with complex patterns. It will change him. The bond rewrites certain aspects of compatible biology. We cannot predict exactly how a human will adapt. I'll monitor his vital signs, said Dr. Patel. But if anything seems dangerous, we stop immediately. Princess Lyra led them to a small room deep inside the ship. In the center was a pool of glowing liquid. The walls were covered with living crystal that pulsed with light. This is the bonding chamber, said Princess Lyra. The liquid contains nanites that will establish the initial connection between our minds. She removed her outer robe, standing now in a simple white garment. Mason noticed for the first time how graceful her movements were, almost like she was floating. You must remove your outer clothing as well, she said. The nanites must contact your skin. Mason took off his jacket and shirt, feeling self-conscious. Dr. Patel attached small monitors to his chest and arms. These will track your vital signs, she said. Be careful, Mason. Princess Lyra stepped into the glowing pool. The liquid reached her waist. She held out her hand to Mason. "Join me, Mason Riley." Mason took a deep breath and stepped into the pool. The liquid was warm and tingled against his skin. He took Princess Lyra's hand. Her skin felt hot now, almost burning. "What do we do?" he asked. "Open your mind," she said. "Do not resist what comes." She placed her other hand on his chest, right over his heart. Then she began to sing. The sound was unlike anything Mason had ever heard, multiple tones at once vibrating through his body. The liquid around them began to glow brighter. Mason felt a strange sensation, like something was pressing against his mind, trying to get in. His first instinct was to resist. "Do not fight it," whispered Princess Lyra. "Let me in." Mason closed his eyes and tried to relax. The pressure increased and then suddenly gave way. His mind exploded with images, feelings, knowledge that wasn't his own. He saw strange planets with crystal forests. He felt the weight of thousands of years of memories. He understood languages he had never heard before, and he felt Lyra's presence in his mind, vast, ancient, and beautiful. She was sharing everything with him, her knowledge, her fears, her hope. Through their connection, Mason learned the truth about the Morrigan. They weren't just conquerors. They were devourers of consciousness, a hive mind that absorbed the intelligence of every species they encountered, growing more powerful with each conquest. The Vasari, with their natural telepathic abilities, were particularly valuable to them, and particularly dangerous. A Vasari mind bonded with a human one might create a defense the Morrigan had never encountered before. Mason felt his body changing. Pain shot through his veins as the nanites rewrote parts of his DNA. He cried out but couldn't move away. The bond was forming, strengthening. Then darkness took him. When Mason woke up, he was lying on a bed in another room. Dr. Patel was scanning him with a device. Princess Lyra stood nearby, her eyes never leaving his face. "How do you feel?" asked Dr. Patel. Mason tried to sit up. "Different." His voice sounded strange to his own ears, deeper with a slight musical quality to it. "How long was I unconscious?" 3 days, said Princess Lyra. "The bonding was more intense than I expected." Mason looked down at his arms. His skin now had a faint shimmer to it like Lyra's, but much more subtle. And he could feel her in his mind, a warm presence always there. "The battle?" he asked. "We've been holding them off," said Dr. Patel. "The Vasari ship has amazing defenses, but more Morrigan ships keep coming." Mason closed his eyes and concentrated. Through his new connection with Lyra, he could sense something else, a distant, cold consciousness. Many minds thinking as one. "I can feel them," he whispered. "The Morrigan. They're hungry, always hungry for more knowledge, more life." Princess Lyra sat beside him and took his hand. "Yes, that is what drives them. They consume consciousness itself." Mason opened his eyes and looked at her. "But there's something else. Something about my mind is different from yours. The way I think," he struggled to explain. "Humans think in chaos, random connections, unpredictable patterns. It confuses them." Princess Lyra's skin lit up with hope. "This is why I chose you. Your species' minds are everything the Morrigan cannot understand." Mason stood up, feeling stronger by the minute. "I think I know how we can fight them." Mason stood on the bridge of the Celestial Harmony. Through the clear walls, he could see the battle raging outside. Earth ships fought alongside Vasari vessels against the growing Morrigan fleet. More enemy ships arrived every day. Mason's body had changed since the bonding. His skin now had a slight glow to it. His eyes could see colors he never knew existed before. And most importantly, he could feel Lyra in his mind all the time. A warm, comforting presence. "The Morrigan ships are surrounding Jupiter," said a Vasari crew member. His skin flashed with patterns that Mason now understood meant worry. "They're using Jupiter's moons as cover," said Mason. Through his bond with Lyra, he could sense the Morrigan's plans. Not clearly, but enough to predict their movements. Admiral Donovan's face appeared on the wall screen. "We've lost 3 more ships. We can't keep this up much longer." Mason looked at Lyra. They shared a thought without speaking. Since their bonding, they had discovered something unexpected. Mason's human brain structure interacted with Vasari telepathy in unique ways. He could sense the Morrigan consciousness, could pick up patterns in their thinking that even Lyra couldn't detect. "We need to move forward with the plan," said Lyra to the Admiral. "Mason and I have developed a way to disrupt the Morrigan hive mind." "How?" asked Admiral Donovan. Mason stepped forward. The Morrigan think as one mind across many bodies. But that connection has a frequency, a pattern. If we can overload it with random, chaotic input, we might be able to break their connection. Like a computer virus? Asked the Admiral. More like a psychic pulse, said Mason, calibrated to my hybrid brain patterns. He tapped his temple. Half human chaos, half Vasari structure. Dr. Patel joined the conversation. It's fascinating, really. The human brain makes connections in ways the Vasari don't. Random leaps of intuition, illogical but creative pathways. The Morrigan have never encountered this before. Will it work? Asked Admiral Donovan. In theory, said Lyra. But we need to get close to their main ship to maximize the effect. The Admiral looked doubtful. That's suicide. We have no choice, said Mason. If we don't stop them here, they'll consume Earth and keep spreading. They spent the next day preparing. Vasari engineers built a device that would amplify Mason and Lyra's mental connection and broadcast it as a pulse that would target the Morrigan communication frequencies. Mason felt strange, wearing the crystal headset they created for him. It connected directly to his temples, cool against his skin. Will this hurt? He asked Dr. Patel as she checked the connections. I don't know, she admitted. Nothing like this has ever been done before. She looked at him seriously. Mason, your brain has changed significantly since the bonding. Your neural pathways have been restructured. This could be dangerous, Mason nodded. I know, but we have to try. Lyra came to him before they began the mission. In private, she took his hands in hers. There is something I must tell you, she said. Mason could feel her concern through their bond. What is it? The bond we share. It is deeper than I expected. Among my people, such a connection usually takes years to develop, but with you it happened almost instantly. Is that bad? Asked Mason. No, said Lyra. Her skin glowed with blue light, which Mason now knew meant affection. But it means our lives are now linked in ways I did not anticipate. If one of us dies... She didn't finish, but Mason understood through their connection. If one died, the other would feel it like losing part of themselves. I won't let that happen, said Mason. He squeezed her hands. We'll both make it through this. The plan was set. The Celestial Harmony would approach the Morrigan flagship while Earth and other Vasari ships provided distraction. Once close enough, Mason and Lyra would activate the pulse device. As they flew toward the massive Morrigan ship, Mason could feel the alien consciousness more strongly. It was cold and hungry, always seeking, never satisfied. It made his skin crawl. They know we're coming, he said to Lyra. They can sense you. But they cannot sense you as clearly, she replied. Your human mind confuses them. The Morrigan ships fired on them. The Celestial Harmony shook with each hit, but its shields held. Earth ships fired back, drawing some of the Morrigan's attention away from them. Almost in range, said the Vasari pilot, preparing for final approach. Mason and Lyra sat in special chairs in the center of the bridge, their headsets connected to a larger crystal device between them. Dr. Patel monitored Mason's vital signs nearby. Remember, said Lyra, focus on the patterns I showed you, but add your human chaos to them. That's the key, Mason nodded. He closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. Through his bond with Lyra, he could feel the Morrigan consciousness like a dark cloud. He began to push against it, sending patterns of thought that mixed Vasari structure with human randomness. The Morrigan consciousness reacted immediately. Mason felt it recoil, then push back hard. Pain shot through his head. He gritted his teeth and pushed harder. Lyra joined her mind with his, strengthening their connection. Together they pushed deeper into the Morrigan hive mind, disrupting its patterns, creating chaos in its order. It's working, gasped Mason. They're confused. On the screens around them, they could see Morrigan ships starting to move erratically. Some stopped firing. Others fired in the wrong directions. More power, said Lyra to the crew. Increase the pulse strength. The crystal device between them glowed brighter. Mason felt like his head might explode. The pain was intense now, but he didn't stop. Through his connection with Lyra, he drew strength. Together, they pushed harder into the Morrigan consciousness. Mason sent images, emotions, illogical connections, everything that made human thinking unique. The Morrigan tried to absorb and understand it, but couldn't. Their ships are breaking formation, said Admiral Donovan over the comm. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. Mason felt something start to give way in the Morrigan consciousness. Like cracks forming in ice, He focused all his will on those cracks, pushing harder. Suddenly, there was a massive psychic backlash. The Morrigan consciousness shattered into thousands of pieces. The pulse device between Mason and Lyra exploded in a shower of crystal shards. Mason was thrown backward. Pain overwhelmed him. He felt Lyra's pain too through their bond. The last thing he saw before blackness took him was the Morrigan flagship beginning to drift aimlessly. When Mason woke up, he was in the medical bay of the Celestial Harmony. Dr. Patel stood over him, scanning his brain with a device. "Welcome back," she said with a smile. "You've been unconscious for 2 days." Mason tried to sit up. His head hurt terribly. "Lyra?" he asked. "I am here," said Lyra from a bed nearby. She looked pale, her skin barely glowing, but she was alive. "The Morrigan?" Mason asked. "Defeated for now," said Dr. Patel. "When you disrupted their hive mind, their ships lost all coordination. Most drifted away. Earth forces destroyed the ones that remained." Mason reached out with his mind, feeling for Lyra. Their bond was still there, but weaker than before. "Are you okay?" he asked her. "I will recover," she said. "As will you." The pulse was stronger than we expected. It damaged our connection temporarily. Mason felt a moment of panic. "But it will heal?" Lyra's skin glowed faintly blue. "Yes. Our bond is strong, Mason Riley. It will take more than this to break it." Over the next few weeks, both Mason and Lyra recovered their strength. The bond between them grew strong again. Earth celebrated its first victory against an alien threat, thanks to the alliance with the Vasari. Admiral Donovan visited them on the Celestial Harmony. Her attitude had changed completely. "I owe you both an apology," she said. "I didn't trust your intentions, Princess Lyra. I was wrong." Lyra inclined her head. "Caution is wise when meeting new species. Trust must be earned." "And you've certainly earned it," said the Admiral. "Earth's governments are unanimous in wanting to formalize our alliance with the Vasari." Mason sat beside Lyra, their hands almost touching. "And what about the marriage proposal?" Admiral Donovan smiled slightly. "That's between you two. But officially, Earth recognizes your bond as a diplomatic union between our peoples." She looked at Mason. "You're now Earth's first ambassador to the Vasari Empire." After she left, Mason turned to Lyra. "Ambassador? I'm just a linguist." Lyra's skin rippled with amused patterns. "You are much more than that now, Mason Riley. You are bonded to a princess of the Vasari. You helped save 2 civilizations." Mason felt her presence in his mind, warm and bright. Through their connection, he knew her thoughts, her feelings for him. What had begun as a political arrangement had become something deeper. "What happens now?" he asked. "The Morrigan are defeated, but you said they'll recover eventually." "Yes," said Lyra. "It will take them time, perhaps decades, perhaps centuries, but they will return." "So we need to be ready," said Mason. "We need to strengthen the alliance between our peoples." Lyra took his hand. Her skin glowed with blue light. "Yes, and we must explore what our bond can do." The combination of human and Vasari minds created something new, something powerful. It might be the key to defeating the Morrigan permanently. Mason looked out at the stars visible through the ship's transparent walls. His life had changed completely in just a few weeks. From a quiet linguist to an alien princess's bonded partner, from studying theoretical communication to saving Earth from invasion. 1 year after the Morrigan attack, Earth had changed. Vasari ships came and went freely. Humans learned from alien technology. The 2 species worked together, preparing for the day when the Morrigan would return. Mason and Lyra led this new alliance. Their bond had grown stronger with time. Mason's body continued to change in small ways. His skin now had a definite glow to it. His eyes could see energy fields that normal humans couldn't. And his mind had expanded in ways he never thought possible. They lived on the Celestial Harmony most of the time, traveling between Earth and Vasari worlds. Today they were in orbit around Jupiter, overseeing the construction of a defense station. "The sensor array is almost complete," said Mason, looking at the half-built station. Hundreds of workers in spacesuits moved around it like busy ants. "It will be able to detect Morrigan ships months before they reach our solar system." Lyra stood beside him. Through their bond, he felt her approval and pride. "Your people learn quickly," she said. "In just 1 year, you've accomplished what took my people decades." Mason smiled. "Humans are good at adapting. especially when our survival depends on it. Dr. Patel joined them on the observation deck. She had become the lead scientist studying the bond between Mason and Lyra. "I have the latest test results," she said, holding up a tablet. "Mason, your brain activity is still changing. The neural pathways that connect to Lyra are growing stronger." "Is that dangerous?" asked Mason, though he already knew the answer through his bond with Lyra. "Not dangerous," said Dr. Patel, "but unprecedented. You're becoming more Vasari in some ways while still remaining human in others. It's fascinating." "And useful," said Lyra. "The stronger our bond, the better we can sense the Morrigan when they return." They had discovered that their unique connection gave them an early warning system. Mason's human thought patterns, combined with Lyra's Vasari telepathy, could detect the Morrigan consciousness from farther away than either species could alone. Admiral Donovan called them to a meeting later that day. Representatives from Earth and the Vasari Empire gathered around a large table on the station near Jupiter. "Our deep space probes have detected unusual activity at the edge of our solar system," said the Admiral. She pulled up a 3D map showing small blips of light moving in strange patterns. "Morrigan scouts," said Lyra immediately. Her skin darkened with concern. "Already?" asked Mason. "It's only been a year. You said it would take them longer to recover." "They should not have recovered so quickly," said Lyra. "Something has changed. They sent out scout ships of their own to investigate. The reports came back worse than expected. Not just a few Morrigan ships, but a massive fleet was gathering just beyond Pluto. They've adapted," said Mason after studying the data. "They've incorporated some of our defense technology into their ships." "How is that possible?" asked Admiral Donovan. "We destroyed all their ships in our system." "Not all," said Lyra. "Some drifted away. And the Morrigan consciousness exists across many vessels. They learn from each encounter, even failed ones." Earth and Vasari leaders met to discuss strategy. The new defense systems weren't ready yet. The fleet wasn't large enough to face this new Morrigan force. "We need more time," said Admiral Donovan. "At least 6 more months to complete the defense network." Mason had been quiet during the meeting, deep in thought. Through his bond with Lyra, they had been sharing ideas. "There might be another way," he said finally. Everyone turned to look at him. "The psychic pulse that disrupted their hive mind before? We could try it again, but stronger." Lyra's skin rippled with concern. "The device was destroyed in the backlash, and the pulse nearly killed us both last time. But we're stronger now," said Mason. "Our bond is deeper, and we understand the Morrigan consciousness better." Dr. Patel shook her head. "It's too dangerous, Mason. The strain on your mind could be fatal this time." But Mason felt determined. Through his bond with Lyra, he knew she felt the same way, despite her concerns. They were the best hope for stopping the Morrigan before they reached Earth. They spent the next week building a new pulse device. This one was larger, designed to broadcast the disruptive patterns across a greater distance. It would target the entire Morrigan fleet at once. The night before they planned to use it, Mason stood alone on the observation deck. Earth was visible in the distance, a blue marble floating in space. His home, worth any risk to protect. Lyra joined him, sensing his thoughts through their bond. "You are afraid," she said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes," admitted Mason, "but not of dying. I'm afraid of failing." Lyra took his hand. Her skin glowed with blue light. "We will not fail. Our bond is stronger than any weapon the Morrigan possess." Mason squeezed her hand. Through their connection, he felt her love for him, and his for her. What had begun as a political arrangement had become the center of both their lives. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he said, "I want you to know that I'm glad you proposed to me that day, even if it was the most shocking moment of my life." Lyra's skin rippled with amused patterns. "The look on your face was quite memorable." They laughed together, finding joy even in the face of danger. The next day, they moved the Celestial Harmony to the edge of the solar system. The Morrigan fleet was visible now, hundreds of dark ships gathering like storm clouds. "They're preparing to attack," said the Vasari pilot. "Their formation is changing." Mason and Lyra sat in their chairs at the center of the bridge. The new pulse device hummed between them, a crystal structure that glowed with inner light. Dr. Patel monitored Mason's vital signs while engineers checked the device's connections. "Remember," said Dr. Patel, "if the strain becomes too great, we pull you out immediately." Mason nodded, though he had no intention of stopping once they began. He looked at Lyra, and through their bond knew she felt the same way. They would see this through, whatever the cost. "Begin the sequence," said Lyra to the engineers. The device powered up. Crystal headsets lowered onto Mason and Lyra's heads, connecting them to the machine. Mason felt the familiar sensation of his mind expanding, reaching out through their bond. Together, they extended their consciousness toward the Morrigan fleet. Mason could feel the alien hive mind, cold and hungry as ever, but now also wary. It remembered them. "They're trying to block us," said Lyra through gritted teeth. Pushing back, Mason concentrated harder. He sent patterns of thought that were uniquely human. Dreams, emotions, illogical connections, creativity, all the things the Morrigan could never fully understand. The Morrigan consciousness recoiled, then pushed back harder. Pain lanced through Mason's head. He could feel Lyra's pain too through their bond. But they didn't stop. The pulse device glowed brighter. Energy crackled around it. Mason and Lyra poured more of themselves into the connection, driving their disruptive patterns deeper into the Morrigan hive mind. "Their ships are starting to break formation," reported the pilot. "It's working!" But the Morrigan fought back. Their combined consciousness hammered at Mason and Lyra's minds, trying to break their connection. Mason felt something tearing inside his head. "Mason's neural activity is spiking dangerously," warned Dr. Patel. "We need to stop." "No," gasped Mason, "not yet." "We're close." Through their bond, Lyra sent him strength. Mason drew on it, pushing harder against the Morrigan consciousness. He could feel the cracks forming, just like before. But this time they were targeting the entire fleet at once. The pain was unbearable now. Blood ran from Mason's nose. Lyra's skin had turned a dull gray. But they held on, pouring everything they had into the pulse. With a final desperate push, they broke through. The Morrigan consciousness shattered, not just temporarily like before, but fundamentally. The hive mind that had held them together for millennia collapsed in on itself. On the screens around them, they watched as the Morrigan ships drifted apart. Some collided with each other. Others simply went dark. The threat that had loomed over two civilizations was gone. The backlash hit them hard. The pulse device exploded. Mason and Lyra were thrown backward. Their connection, stretched to its limit, snapped. Mason felt like part of himself had been torn away. He couldn't feel Lyra in his mind anymore. The silence was deafening. "Lyra!" He tried to shout, but no sound came out. Darkness took him. Mason floated in emptiness. No sight, no sound, no sensation. Was he dead? He tried to call for Lyra, but had no voice. Then, faintly, he felt something. A familiar presence. Weak, distant, but unmistakable. Lyra. He reached for her with his mind, struggling to reconnect. Their bond had been severed, but not destroyed. The roots were still there, deep in both of them. Mason poured all his will into re-establishing that connection. Slowly, painfully, he felt strands of their bond begin to reform. "Lyra, can you hear me?" The faintest response came back. "Mason." He pulled harder, drawing her back to him, refusing to let go. Their bond strengthened, thread by thread. Light began to return. Sound. Sensation. Mason became aware of his body again, of people moving around him, of machines beeping. He opened his eyes. He was in the medical bay of the Celestial Harmony. Dr. Patel stood over him, looking shocked. "He's awake," she called to someone. "I don't believe it." Mason tried to speak. His voice came out as a croak. "Lyra!" "Right here," said a weak voice from nearby.